continue our team coverage of the deadly mass shootings. With this happening in a nearby state, many families vacation to. Parents here in Massachusetts might be wondering how to discuss it with their children who recognize the proximity.
Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lockery is getting answers on how to talk to your kids. Reagan, what's the best way to make them feel safe?
Chris, Abby, one local psychologist we spoke to says it's important to make sure you're having the conversation while also limiting exposure. And a former FBI chief I sat down with stresses the importance of children knowing how to protect themselves.
Mass shootings happen in the U.S. on a daily basis, but when they happen so close to home, it can be hard to process, especially for the younger population.
I think it's really scary. I think these can be really scary conversations because it's affecting us.
Despite how hard it may be, Dr. Deidre Hussey, the behavioral health clinical supervisor at the Bay State Family Advocacy Center, says having those conversations with your kids in the wake of tragedies like the mass shootings in Maine this week is crucial.
But we want to be honest and transparent because at the end of the day, kids are even more so than some of us connected to social media or news or outlets where they're going to get information or they're going to see scary things or they're going around other kids and other adults who are maybe talking about it, right? So their exposure is going to happen.
Here in Massachusetts, many of us travel across New England to Maine every summer for family vacations. And the familiarity tied to this tragedy can be hard for kids and teens to process. Dr. Hussey tells Western Mass News it's important to remind your kids about the good experiences while also making sure they understand the bad.
There are times where things happen that are really scary or violent or sad, and there are many experiences or times or events that is not the case, that this is not kind of the norm.
And as caregivers, it's important to control the narrative and limit exposure in order to maintain their mental health. And when having these conversations, first find out what they understand, what their questions are, and what they are worried about.
Really validating the fear of going to a bowling alley or other areas, where kids would typically go, that can be scary, right?
Dr. Hussey adds it's also important you're talking to kids at their developmental level. And former FBI Chief Greg Vecchi suggests parents and teachers have these conversations with their kids as young as kindergarten.
Don't have to scare them, but just let them know, that, we're going to have drills. It's kind of like we have tornado drills and we have fire drills and we have lockdown drills in case something bad happens.
And Vecchi says kids as well as adults should be taught how to use the escape, evade, and engage model if they ever find themselves in an active shooter situation.
In the case of the bowling alley, the children should be aware that this may happen, and they should be taught these safety precautions.
Now, if your child or teens are experiencing any anxiety or fear about going to public places, Dr. Hussey suggests coming up with a safety plan. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Lockery for Western Mass News.